Okay, fine. Hi team, very good morning and warm welcome to the Hyperautomation Free UiPath Training Day 2 session. So yesterday we have discussed about what is the agenda which we are going to cover as part of the free training sessions. And also we have just discussed about the UiPath ecosystem where how we can leverage all the UiPath resources for free of cost in terms of academy, forum, and also the community, right? So today we'll just try to see before jumping into the things, since we have people from different backgrounds, varying from 0 to like 10 plus years of experience. So today we thought of going with some concept which was related to uh, RP introduction, as well as we are going to talk about the life cycle related to the robotic development life cycle, right? So this is our agenda today, where we gonna cover something that was related to introduction to RPA. So what is RPA? What are the different tools in the market? So why RPA? How do we select a process for the automations at a very high level? What are the benefits of RPA and the scope of RPA? And what are the different roles you can experience? And finally, we'll just go with the life cycle explanation. Okay, fine. So before just jumping, we'll try to understand how companies used to work earlier. So earlier it is something called as a centralized process, and to just complete their work faster, so they have given some piece of work to BPOs or ITOs. That is how the BPOs came into picture. And to just even speed up the process, they have something called as global standard process. Let's say that you have company in UK, but still people are working across the globe, sitting in India or else some other countries, and still trying to just make sure that they're trying to deliver the process at a very high speed manner and all. And also to just make it deliver it faster, even we have utilized or automated some processes using some scripting and some technologies. And now we are in a state of automating our processes using enterprise RPA. And future will be something that was related to the cognitive models, the AI getting infused and making the delivery of the processes in the companies or else in the organizations. And without much delay, we'll try to understand what is this RPA, what is the prerequisite for learning this RPA, in which the mindset will be utilized and all these things. So coming to RPA, it's a robotic process automation. So it's a basic full form of RPA. So let's try to divide these terms and try to understand this in a very layman level language or not. So what is a robot here? So robot is nothing but it will try to mimic the human actions. So whatever a person is trying to do, it will try to do the same things and it will just mimic the things. So here it's not a mechanical device, like how you just see or touch the things, it's not a mechanical device. The software which we try to write here is something called as a robot here, or it's like the piece of instructions or the piece of code what we write here in RPA is what we call as a robot here. So what is a process? So process is nothing but let's say that I want to just send some mail. So what are the steps you'll follow basically? Initially, I'll launch the application, launch the browser, provide the authentication details like user ID, password, click on login, and click on compose mail, provide all the details, right? So all these steps comes under completing a particular task, which is meaningful or sequential in manner to perform end-to-end tasks, which we call it as process. So what is automation? So automation terms something which refers to removing a human intervention or the supervision here. In simple words, we can just say it's going to replace a human workforce with a digital workforce here. So that is what we can say a basic definition of what actually RPA refers to. So, so what is this RPA? Whether it's a technology tool, what is this RPA? So RPA is evolving the IT industry as a practice. So what are the different practices we have here in IT industry? So let's say that I just want to develop some application here. So what are the different tools I utilize? I can just develop in Java. I can develop in Python, I can develop in .NET, JavaScript, or like you have some 20 plus tools in the market, more or less does the same functionalities, and your end goal is to just make sure that you're trying to develop some application, right? In the similar way, or else in the similar passion, RPA is all evolved into IT industry as a practice, where our agenda is to convert your manual workforce into digital workforce, right? So in which or what this RPA can do. It can interact with SAP based application, a Java based application, a .NET based application, a mainframe, database, PDF, Excel, email. You just name the application, it will be able to interact. So Kiran, you were saying that it can interact with .NET, it can do something on Java, it can do something on mainframe, it can do something on SAP. Do I need to learn all these technologies? Of course, no. We are only trying to replace the process that is being carried out on any application. I'm trying to repeat the same thing. We are only concerned or trying to replace the process, and we are not trying to replace the application. If we are trying to replace the application, it is something where you need to learn all this technical stuff, right? So that is what we just need to understand at a very high level. And we are not going to provide any enhancements or improvements to the existing manual solution. We are just going to replace with the capabilities what our particular tool will be having here in the RPA. So that is one prerequisite we need to keep in mind. And the second thing is nothing but though we don't have uh, something a coding language experience, at least you should be having something a developer mindset to achieve a particular goal in delivering our automations and all. So that is the second thing you need to keep in mind. And third and foremost important thing is nothing but you should be having a thorough knowledge on the process which we are going to automate here. It is purely defined in terms of the domain. So let's say that it can be defined in terms of healthcare, or it can be defined in insurance or banking. You will have lots of processes. And we'll just take a small example and understand those things too, right? So though you're not from a computer science background, you can still excel in this particular domain in terms of RPA. And mostly all these RPA tools are low-code technologies where a minimal coding is utilized inside this particular automations. And we are going to not provide any enhancements or improvements. We are just going to replace the process using the automation capabilities here, right? So let's understand what are the different tools in the market and why we are basically targeting now on UiPath rather than any other tools that was available in the market. Okay, so let's take a very layman example, and also let's try to understand what is the difference between UiPath or else other existing RPA tools that was available in the market. So coming to, let's say, we'll take a layman example, like 2 3 years back we have something came to the market in terms of telecom industry as a geo, right? So initially why everybody tried to shift into geo, because it is trying to provide you the services at a very less cost, and you can see how, and you can see more features are being introduced in a geo telecom network and all. So though you are having different network providers in the market like Airtel or else Vodafone or some other network providers, so we have inclined something into Geo because it's going to provide you at a very less cost, and also more services as being provided. In a similar fashion, since in the organizations or enterprises, we need to procure the license, your path is something a leading market provider where it is providing you the services at a very reasonable cost, and also trying to need or trying to provide the needs of the particular customer at a very fast paced manner, right? So when you can see that at earlier 2015 or something, you have only 2 or 3 products in UiPath. But now in 2024, we are there with around like 20 plus products. That was alone we been there in the UiPath. That is how it's been getting upgraded at very fast manner. You know? in just providing the services to the customer. So that is one of the biggest advantage we have here, and also the market share compared to other tools. We can say a minimal 60 to 70% of market share in automations related to RPA holds with the UiPath. And other tools were prominent or dominant in terms of Power Automate, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere. So these were other tools also being existing and also leading the markets. So now you come with asking me, Kiran, now I learned something you have path. So tomorrow I just got a project, or I want to enhance my skill set in something called as automation anywhere or else Blue Prism. So how you gonna suggest me on these particular things and all, right? So in that particular instance, okay. So in that particular instance, we'll take again a layman example here. Let's say uh, we have something called a social networking chat messengers and all, right? So initially, let's say that I have some application called WhatsApp. So to get all the features known to me, it may take me around like 2 to 3 weeks to get all the features known, like how I can share some messages, videos, messages or images, or how I can keep some status, how I can join some communities. All these things will take you around like 2 to 3 weeks, or like maybe like a couple of months to get all the features understandable to you. But you have installed something called as Instagram Messenger or as an FB Messenger and all. So how much time it will take you to get adjusted with the secondary application? So it will take roughly 2 days max. 2 days max, right? So how you fastly adjusted to the application, because already you know the concept of sharing videos, messages, or something that was related to what you have earlier done with the WhatsApp, right? Only the difference you can see is nothing but the user interface changes as well as the application terminology changes here. So here in WhatsApp, you can call it a status. In Instagram, you will call it as a reels or something, right? So that is the only difference. In your path, you call it as activities. In automation, anywhere you call it as actions, right? So only that difference you can identify something where you try to understand in terms of uh, the user interface as well as the naming terminology changes, but the concept of automation remains same in all across 50 plus tools that was available in the market. Okay, so that is one of the thing you just need to understand. So where this RPA can be utilized or not. So you just name the domain, it will be definitely utilized considering some sort of limitations and all. So it can be utilized in supply chain management, IT services, finance and accounting, HR services, banking domain, insurance domain, healthcare domain, and you like lots of domains can be just being leveraged using this particular RPA as a domain. So one of the small process we'll try to take here is in terms of finance and accounting. So we have something called procure to pay, order to cash, record to report, vendor management, incentive claim, sales order. All these processes will be in a very repetitive manner and all, and those were something where you will be best suit for your organizations. And also here you can have something backup and restorations, password resets, batch processing, email processings, routine maintenance and monitorings, server and app monitoring. So all these particular services, it is something which is carried out in a very frequent manner in the IT, where you can just try to opt these particular things for automation, and you can utilize RPA as a service for those things, right? So I'll just take a small break here. Any doubts till now? Please do let me know. Any queries? I think Pradeep will be helping out where you will have your queries resolved. And also at the end of the session, we have some challenge where you can just consider to win the goodies and all. Fine. Hope we are clear as of now. Fine, jumping back to the session. Okay, so let's try to understand how do you select a process for the automation. So we do have some sort of limitations here in every sort of thing. Let's take a small example here again. Um, when you're talking about Newton's third law, for every action there is equal and opposite reaction, right? So there is some mobile phone on my desk. I'm trying to just move it. It's easily moving, but beside me there is a wall I'm trying to push, but it is not moving because the force which I'm trying to apply is not enough to have some reciprocal action, right? The same thing happens in every sort of things which we considered for automations too. There are some sort of limitations which we will try to understand here in this particular slide. Okay, so it should be highly manual and repetitive process, nothing but high transaction volume process. So before understanding this thing, we'll take a small example of uh, some process, and we will try to understand these particular things. So there is something called as a banking domain. In the banking domain, we have something called as a loan approval process. I want to just start a company here. Okay, let's try to understand how the things happens. Okay, each application when a person will try to apply for a particular loan. So at the end of the bank, so each application will take around 10 minutes to process to make sure that whether the person is eligible for a particular loan or not by entering all the details in some banking portal where they will try to generate a CIBIL score. If your CIBIL score is less than 700, it is rejected. And if it is greater than 700, it is basically accepted, right? And each application manually it is taking 10 minutes. So basically in 1 hour, it will take you around how many minutes to complete how many applications? You can do something around like 6 applications. Basically, a person will work for 8 hours and he or she can do around 50 applications, right? So the daily volume is around 500 applications per week. Okay. So how many persons are required to handle this 500 applications? So each person will work 8 hours. So he can complete 50 applications, right? So how many people are required? So around like 10 full-time employees are required to handle these 500 applications, right? So this is what we call as 10 minutes is called average handling time, which is called as AHT. And each application here we call it as a transaction. Okay. So now let's say that the bot is trying to process your particular applications. So each application has been processed within 2 minutes. So in 1 hour, it can complete how many applications? Around 30 applications. In 8 hours, it can complete how many? 240 applications. So how many bots are required? No? So it is around like 2 bots are required in this particular process, right? So let's say that as per my business requirement, I need to complete within 4 hours. So 4 hours is nothing but 120 applications. And you require how many bots? Into 4. It's basically 480, which is near to 500 applications, right? So it requires 4 bots if you want to complete within 4 hours. So let's say that as per business requirement, I want to complete that in 24 hours. How many bots I required? Only one bot. because in within 16 hours or 17 hours, your single bot can complete all your 500 applications. So how many bots are required for a particular process? It purely depends upon the business requirement and also the number of transactions. Parallelly, we need to also consider something called as a average handling time. So all these things are kept in mind before going with implementation of the particular bots. So let's try to understand here another key important thing, nothing but ROI. So which we call as a return on investment. You're trying to invest something, you will try to expect something out of it, right? So that is what we call as an ROI in RPA domain here. So we need to have at least some savings when you're trying to implement some automations across your organizations or departments or else in your companies. So let's take this small example here. So every year, each employee uh, is given a salary of 10 lakhs. So for 10 employees, it is going to cost me around like 1 crore. But here, since I'm trying to utilize only 2 bots, so since my license is only for 2 bots, so you need to procure the license, right? So let's say that each license is going to cost you 10 lakhs. You're trying to invest only 20 lakhs here. So what is the ROE we have here? At least we can see an ROE of 80 lakhs. I'm just talking at a very high level, but there are a lot of calculations when you try to calculate your ROI in your implementations of the automation center. But to understand at a very high level, it's going to cost you 20 lakhs, but your savings have come across 80 lakhs, right? Now let's say that instead of 10 lakhs, I'm going to pay only per each employee 1 lakh. So it's going to cost me 10 lakhs. But here you are implementing with 20 lakhs. Though you're trying to implement automations, it's going to cost you around like most another 10 lakhs, which is nothing but there is no investment return of the investment. So it's not the best suit for the automation at all, right? So you need to consider these particular things when you are trying to understand what is being considered for the automation. Right? So we have just introduced some key terminology here, which is nothing but transaction, FT, which is full-time employees, AHT, which is nothing but average handling time, ROI, which is nothing but a return on investment. And also here we have just talked about the loan approval process. First step is nothing but you will download all your applications, where you will try to download, where you will try to read all your data, where you will enter the details into the banking portal, right? And you try to generate a CIBIL score and take a decision and finally mail back to the customer, right? So how many applications are used in this particular process? So for downloading, you will try to read your data in terms of Excel, and to enter, you have something called as a web-based application. And for mail, you will try to utilize either Gmail or Outlook. Right. So we have utilized around like 3 applications in your process. And also we have around like 6 to 7 steps in the process. And the average handling time is something around like 2 minutes when you try to auto. Right. So let's keep these things side apart and we'll try to just jump into our other concept. Hope we are clear till now. If you have any queries, please do let us know. We'll be just talking on the same.
As of everyone can text it in the chat group, so I can give the answers. If not, we'll have 5 minutes of QA sessions of end of the session, so we can discuss at that time.
So we have seen what is the main difference between UiPath and other tools, which we have discussed, where you can see a lot of upgrades. You can see like for every 3 months, you'll have latest versions with the latest features being implemented in UiPath. So that is the biggest advantage we can see when compared to other tools. What are the different types of products available? You can have that session tomorrow. So where Pradeep will be talking at a very high level what all the products we have in UiPath, and he will explain at a very high level. So AST is nothing but average handling time. So the time taken to complete each transaction here, we call it as like AST. Okay, fine. So now coming back to our major slide, which we are talking here in terms of what process should I automate and all. So it should be highly manual repetitive process. So it is nothing but the process should be repetitive in nature, right? Okay. So it is highly manual and repetitive process, which is having the transaction volume process, a frequently process running daily, weekly instead of monthly or yearly process. Some process will run on a monthly basis or yearly basis. So that is not a best suit for automations. It should be running on a daily basis or weekly basis. So that is what we need to consider. Second thing is nothing but process with readable electronic input types. So we have data categorized into three types: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Okay. So what is this particular structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data? So data which is seen in terms of Excel, Word, email, XML, PPT, or readable PDFs are categorized as structured data. So semi-structured data is nothing but scanned documents, or else like handwritten documents are considered something as a semi-structured data. So unstructured data is nothing but where you can see the data in terms of images which are blurred, or you have data in terms of voice or image or video. So that is considered as an unstructured data. So here the data which is processed in terms of structured data are considered for automations. Okay. And the third important point here is nothing but changeable processing method or system changes. So what is this process change? Let's say that to generate a CIBIL score, I need to initially enter all the details with your Aadhaar card number. Okay. So now the process got updated with Aadhaar card number. I need to also enter something called as a PAN card. Okay. So now again, I need to change my code, test your code, and release it into the production. So again, the process got changed. And now with PAN card and Aadhaar card, you need to also enter your voter ID details also. Again, I need to change the details or change the things in the code as well. If the process is getting frequently updated and also the system is getting frequently updated, what is the system update? So you can see that applications are categorized into two types: business-based applications and commercial-based applications. So what is these business applications? So you're working for some ABC company. So in that case, when you're working for ABC company, you are given access to only the applications related to the ABC company, right? So let's say that IRCTC is a application where it is used for commercial based things. Amazon is a application utilized for commercial based purpose and all these things, right? So whatever the applications it was there in terms of commercial space, we don't have any control, we don't have any updates. So we don't see that as a very fit for your automation center, because there might be very frequent updates on the application. So let's say that there is a login button which is there in the rightmost part today, and it's been updated to the leftmost part tomorrow. So my bot is designed to click here, but it's been updated tomorrow to the leftmost part. Obviously, I need to fix my code and test it and release back to production to make sure that your automations are up and running. If there is a very frequent changes, nothing but the developer needs to come into picture, the tester needs to come into picture, all the phases needs to come into picture, and obviously it's going to have a greater impact in your delivery. So that is the reason why a very frequent changes in the process or else in the application is not a best route for the automations. So and also it should be a rule-based process at a high volumes. Rule-based process are nothing but, so when generating a CIBIL score, so you need to enter some sort of details, and based on that you have a rule that if it is less than 700, it's rejected, greater than 700, it's accepted. So that is nothing but a rule which been defined in a particular process. If there is no rule, So you cannot define how your particular approvals or rejections will happen, right? So that is the reason why we need to consider a process with the rules and high values. So on a daily basis, let's say that earlier we have seen 500 applications. So 10 people are working. So instead of 500 applications, you are getting only 10 applications. How many people are required? Not even one people. So he'll work for maybe a couple of hours and he will try to work with other works that was there in the company. So it will be work with sort of a process where you can see high volumes. Automation savings are nothing but at least we have talked about ROI, right? So earlier it was 1 crore, now it was 20 lakhs, where you have savings of 80 lakhs. But earlier it was 10 lakhs and you have implementation cost is going to be 20 lakhs. So there is no purpose of implementing the automations and all. And last and foremost thing is nothing but we should be working with processes only which are very much mature and stable here. So what is this mature and stable process? Nothing but well-documented process, which is stable and with the known operational cost. Let's say that I'm trying to interact with some civil portal. So to access that, I need to pay some license for the logins and all. So if you don't know that particular licensing cost and all, so it's going to be impacting your automation savings and all. So when you will know all these things, when you know that your process is stable and it's mature, nothing but it's been running from a long time. So then you can just estimate all these things. Right? So these were some sort of limitations we have here, or we'll try to consider what process should I automate. Okay. So now coming to the benefits, let's try to understand it again a very layman level language. I go to a company, I'll work for only 8 hours, but here the bot will work for 24/7. I'll go to a company, I'll ask for salary. Here the bot doesn't ask for any sort of salary involved. So let's say that I try to apply for a loan on ABC Bank, it's been rejected, but tomorrow you'll get a call from XYZ Bank stating that your application has been approved and all. So I applied for an ABC Bank and I'll get a calls from XYZ Bank. How can this happen? Because your data have been stolen and that particular data has been sold to some other vendors. So that is how you're getting approved from other banks, right? But here the bot doesn't know that I can steal some data, sell it to some other person so that I can get some money and all. Here your data is very much secured, which is very much important in the present organizations or companies where the data is a key in getting secured way and all. So let's say that today I have something around like 500 applications, which require 10 people. So tomorrow I'm getting 5,000 applications. So how many more persons are required? Another 90 people are required. So I'll talk to my manager. The manager will talk to the higher management. They'll take some approvals. They'll try to interact with the HR. They'll try to hire again. They'll try to um, train the particular resources. So meanwhile, will the customer stay with me? Of course, no. They'll try to go with another company. They'll try to apply for a loan in another company. So tomorrow, let's say that instead of getting 500 applications on daily basis, I'm getting only 10 applications. Can I remove all these 9 people who are sitting idle in the company? Of course, no. I do have some sort of labor policies which needs to be adhered in any sort of country. So I cannot remove these 9 people who are sitting idle because of labor policies. Nothing but if there is some increase in volume or decrease in volume, can still accommodate easily in terms of RPA utilization because you will be trying to run your particular bots in the virtual machines. Nothing but you are scaling up or scaling down your virtual machines based on your particular volume, which can happen in a couple of days, basically. So that is we have here in terms of scalability and the flexibility, we have a greater advantage here. So earlier it was taking me 10 minutes, now it was taking me 2 minutes. So obviously my average handling time will be drastically reduced so that my productivity is increased. If productivity is increased, automatically the customer satisfaction is increased. If the customer satisfaction is increased, automatically I'm getting more business here. So that is what we can see here in terms of the benefits, which we are talking in terms of implementation of a particular process manually and how we are going to benefit something if we are trying to implement that in automations, right? So that is what we can see here in rapid ROI, where we can see the cost reduction, scalability, flexibility, and all these things, right? Fine. Now, now let's try to understand the team structure. We try to see in organizations. So the project manager is something where he forms the RPA team, and he is responsible for setting up and delivering the program across business units and all. And we have infrastructure engineers and service support engineers who will help us in setting up the environment for us. So let's say that I'm trying to interact with some SAP based application, or else I'm trying to uh, yeah, like interact with some database. Do I need to install all these applications? Of course, no. If you're working across organizations, you will raise a request, and these people will be helping you to set up the environment for us. So, who is the solution architect? So, solution architect is a person who will try to design how your solution will be looking like. So let's say that I want to construct a home. So you'll go to an architect where he will try to design how your home will be looking like. So he will say that this is your ground floor, this is your bifurcation of your rooms and all. This is where your things will be looking like. Right? The same thing happens here in the solution architect role, where he will try to tell you how your solution will be looking like. And here comes the developer, where he will try to design, develop, and test your automation articraft, nothing but your projects. And we have here an important role which we call as a business analyst. A business analyst, or else SME, subject matter expert, is a person who will try to act as a bridge between the client and the development team here. Okay. So let's say that I'm trying to automate some Citibank process. Okay. So I have some doubt once I started the project. So who will be your first point of contact? So every time I cannot drop a mail or connect with the client here. So business analyst is a person who will be trying to provide you all the information related to the process. And he or she will be your first point of contact in getting an understanding and clear practices of your particular process. Right. And we have lastly but not least the RPA supervisor, who is nothing but administrator or orchestrator, admin, where he will try to maintain your particular bots. So let's say that I want to run my bot at night 9 o'clock, or else I want to run my bot on a bi-weekly basis, or I want to run my bot on my weekly basis, or else on a monthly basis, or else only on a particular day of a particular month. So who is responsible for maintaining all these parts? The supervisor or else an administrator is responsible for maintaining your parts. So these were the different roles you can experience based on your skill set. And the role we are targeting here is nothing but the RPA developer role. Okay. Any doubts as of now? So last but not least, we are going to talk. Before that, we'll just take some Q&A, or else we'll see in the chat window if there's something like queries was there. I think we are good as of now.
Yes,
Right.
I can. We are.
Right. So this is very important.
Hi.
Yes, please.
Hi, I do have a problem. So earlier you were talking about the resources, right? So like, do we have any particular limit? Like we do have the version, like if we are using one version of RPA, is there any fixed resources for this, or if you want any other extra resources, we need to get it from RPA with some license and all. Is it the case, or there will be like fixed resources?
See, let's say that I'm trying to just implement some project and all. So these were the different roles you'll try to experience and all, basically. So these were the different roles you'll try to experience and all. So it really depends like how many persons are required for the particular project and all. So that will be taken care by the project manager, basically. So how many resources are required, all these things let's say that I have like 10 process which needs to be automated here. I'll require some 5 developers here. So let's say that there are already been 100 bots that been developed and it's been maintained. There will be required some 4 to 5 resources in the administrator part of all. So there were some 100 processes which I need to automate for the pipeline. There will be 3 or 4 business analysts that was coming into picture. So these are the different roles we can experience, but the number of persons that are required, that is purely dependent upon the processes which we are going to automate.
Do we have like a particular number of boards? Like earlier, you were discussing about boards, right?
Bots, right?
Yes, yes. Do we have like if we install the particular RPA UiPath tool? So like, do we have a limit of boards, or like is it an unlimited number of boards?
So the bot here is nothing but the piece of code which we are going to write. It's called as a program, but in the RPA terminology, we gonna call it as a bot here. Okay. So again, it's a good question to ask here. Let's take a small example here. So there is one process called as a loan approval process. And the second process is something called as a KYC process. Okay. So here on a daily basis, I'll get 500 applications and it needs to be done in 4 hours, which will run from morning, let's say 6 a.m. to like 10 a.m. Okay. So how many bots are required here? We require around like 4 bots. And there is some KYC process, which you will get a volume of 100 applications on a daily basis. And it takes around like, you need to complete within 8 hours. And you're gonna run this particular process from afternoon 2 p.m. To like around 10 p.m. And here, to handle this 100 applications, you require around like, let's say 5 bots. Okay. How many licenses are required here? So general understanding, we'll say like 9 bots. Because for this particular process, it is 4 bots, and for this particular process, it is 5 bots. But in RPA domain, 5 bots, because your utilization of these particular bots has been done from morning 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. After 10 a.m., your bots are still open here and it is not working here. Basically, it's like free from this particular time frame after this time frame. So you can just utilize these bots here in this particular process. So bots are nothing but your runtime executors and all. So when you try to execute your Java code, you're trying to execute in a compiler, right? So that is what we call here as a bot. Yes, simply. So require only 4 bots here or 5 bots here. Sorry. But to run these 2 processes, to run this 5, sorry, to run these 2 processes, you require 5 bots here. Okay. So that is what
Sir, if these 2 processes are different, then how we can utilize the same board for 2 different processes? Means KYC and for loan approval.
Yeah. So this process, I'm like, you have developed a code, right? You have written a code here for your loan approval process. You are trying to run execute. It will run only on this particular time frame. So once it was executed after this time frame, it will be not executing, right? After 10 a.m., you will not execute this particular parts. Nothing but you're running it on multiple machines basically. So these machines will be, or licenses will be just leveraged in the other pods. So there might be different processes, not only KYC process. There is something called as, let's say, some AMC process, annual maintenance process. Okay. Okay. So again, it requires some, again, like 10 bots, but it requires to run on 24 hours. On 24 hours, it will be just running with around like some 1,000 transactions. So you are trying to utilize 10 virtual machines basically. Each bot is nothing but a machine here. So each machine is nothing but it was trying to replace an FTE. So one employee is getting replaced with a machine, and machine is something called as a bots here. Okay. Hope I have answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fine. Now let's jump into the chart once again. How can we know the bot requires how many machines to run? It purely depends upon this average handling time and the number of transactions. So we require 9 machines. Of course, it depends upon your business requirements. But again, let's say that again, you want to run the same process again from morning 6 a.m. to something around like 12 p.m. So it's around like 2 p.m. So it requires 9 bots licenses. But earlier it requires only 5 bots. But on the same time you're trying to run, it requires more licenses to be purchased and all. So that is what we call as load balancing. So it will be taken care by the administrator and all, or else the project manager. So we are not concerned about all these things, but to just have an understanding how the things happens. I'm just trying to like provide this knowledge. Okay. Fine. So now let's jump back to our particular concept about our robotic development lifecycle. Yeah. So which is very much important. Fine. So our major agenda is to convert your manual workforce into a digital workforce here. In order to convert your manual workforce into digital workforce, we have different states here: the process management or the discovery phase, the define phase, the design phase, build or test, UIT, deploy. So we'll try to talk about these phases. The first phase, which we call as process management phase or the discovery phase, will help us in understanding whether the process can be automated or not. So in the first phase, what happens is the client comes to us stating that we want this process to be automated, which we call as a requirement gathering phase. So once the requirement gathering was done, we will try to assess whether the process can be automated or not using a document called as initial feasibility checklist or initial feasibility analysis. And the key stakeholders involved in the process is business analyst as well as a project manager. And sometimes based on the resource availability, even the developers also comes into picture. Okay. So once we know that the process can be automated, we come to a phase called define phase. So where the business analyst will be there to document every keystroke level information with all the screenshots, with all the functionalities and the process level informations in the define phase. And the document involved in this particular process is called as PDD, which is nothing but process definition document. And some companies might even call this document as BRD, which is nothing but business requirement documents. So once we document everything here, we will try to send it for a sign off, because this document is going to be acting as a written statement to us. So what is this written statement again? So let's say that I'm trying to automate a process and I have automated the process without any PDD document. So there is a loan approval process. So while initial requirement gathering, it was said around like your CIBIL score is greater than 600, you can approve. So I have developed my bot and it's been in production, and they come up with a problem stating that the bot is approving applications for CIBIL score which is less than 700. So we can't fight with the client stating that. So earlier you said it was 700, but now you're saying it has like 600 and all, right? So if we have a written statement here, we have a document stating that, hey, this is what you have asked for, and this is what you are trying to develop. And if the particular client provides a sign off, then and there we'll try to move with the next phases in the particular automation here. And the second phase here, we call it as a design phase, where the solution architect comes into picture with the developer, and he or she will be trying to design how your solution will be looking like. What is the best approach we need to follow? what are the dependencies we need to follow. If it is something like PDF automation you're going to carry out, whether it is structured data, unstructured data, whether you're going to utilize regex or else like you want to go with the document understanding capability. All these things will be discussed here in the design phase. And here comes the build phase where the actual developer comes into picture, where he will try to read the define phase and the design phase inputs. And he or she will be trying to start doing the development using the best practices. And that is what we call as a build phase here. Before moving into the test phase, nothing but we will try to, after developing, we'll try to test the particular bot, right? So testing the bot is nothing but you're not testing your application, how it's working. It's something like how your bot is working. You're going to test it in the test phase. If any sort of bugs comes into picture, so again, it will be assigned to the developer and he or she will be trying to build the particular or fix the particular issues that is coming into the test phase. So once everything is done in the testing, it is moved to the UAT, which is nothing but user acceptance test. So where the end user, nothing but the client comes into picture, he or she will try to test and he or she will try to provide a sign off before moving it into the production. So till now, all these phases involve something our particular team only. Our particular organization will be only working on this define, design, build or test phases. But to make sure that everything is working fine in the production, nothing but you are trying to deploy a particular bot, you need to make sure that the end user comes into picture and he or she will be trying to test. That is what we call as a UAT here, which is user acceptance test. So once we have a sign off here in the UAT phase, we will try to deploy the bot in the production phase. So here there are again two types. So either you are going to maintain your bots or there is some separate team that is going to maintain the bots. If there is some separate team that is going to maintain the bots, so there is some another phase which we call as a hypercare. So hypercare is nothing but you are trying to provide a warranty for the bot you have built and all. So initially it might be there for 3 to 4 weeks, where you will be the L1 support and the production team will be there as an L2 support. And after 3 to 4 weeks, or else in between these 3 to 4 weeks, if there are some sort of changes which are new, that will be considered as a change request, where again you will have a change management cycle comes into picture, where again you will try to consider that as a new request, where you will try to estimate something and you will do all the things. Okay. And after which, if there is something, everything works fine as expected, and there are some small fixes comes into picture, that will be assigned to the developer again. He or she will be trying to fix, test, and try to deploy in the hypercare. And once the 3 to 4 weeks time frame is completed, that's been handed over to the production team, where they will be the L1 support, and we'll be just there to help them out in shadowing the things and all. So these were the different cycles or stages we can experience in converting your manual workforce into a digital workforce. So Kiran, you might be asking me a question. Kiran, so what are the factors that will be considered for considering a process can be automated or not? I'll share you a small document where we can just talk about those things. And you might be asking question like, as a developer, so in which phases I'll be involved here? It purely depends upon organization to organizations. So let's say that based on my experience in my earlier organizations, so there is some organization where I started my career in RPA, where I was responsible for requirement gatherings, creating the documents, providing some architecture, building, testing, providing support. Everything was taken care by individual person itself. But after I have went to some other organization where I've been only been there in the build phase itself. So there are some BA, there is some architect, there is some, they'll provide some documents. I will only be building. So there is some separate testers. Everything is taken care by other different teams. I'll be only developing the bots. It is purely dependent on the organization or else the teams you'll be working. But if we are trying to showcase some capabilities as an experienced person, or else where you have some real-time experience, you should be knowing what is done before the development and also what is done after the development. Okay, so that is what we can try to experience if we know what is done in this particular life cycle. Okay, so any doubts as of now, please do let me know. Have some chart here. It's based on license, we can do it anywhere. Should we design in our bot and community edition after UAT? So we have to do it in enterprise edition. So it purely depends. It like if you're working in organization, it is something where you need to adhere some compliance policies and security policies, where you will be trying to develop in enterprise license itself. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the documentations. I know it's tentative, but to make sure that we are closing the concept in a proper way, I'll just quickly walk through the documents here. So I was saying something, what are the factors that will affect my process, which can be automated or not? So these were the 7 factors which will say whether the process can be automated or not. So let's take one example here about what I can say, like a business process definition. So what is this business process definition? That is nothing but detailed document process description exists and have been witnessed. So let's say that I'm trying to automate processes for Citibank client. So he or she has given me 5 processes to automate. So if the client haven't given me all the information related to the 5 processes, and they say that we know it manually and we don't have some SOPs, nothing but standard operating procedures or any documents related to the particular process, it is nothing but bit difficult to automate because you don't have any documentation. So it is one nothing but easy to automate where you have witnessed all the documents for a particular process. So we're gonna rate it as 2. If they say that out of 5 process we have document for 3 process, and we are going to rate it as 3 if they say that we don't have any documents for the particular process, right? And here another thing we are gonna talk is about the process complexity. So it is one of the foremost thing we need to understand how you define the process complexity. So there are different factors which we can understand in terms of the process complexity here. It purely depends upon these particular 5 factors. So number of steps in the process, number of applications in the process, number of screens in the applications, number of fields in the screens, and the average handling time. A process can be defined as simple, medium, or complex based on this particular criteria. If your steps are less than 8, you're going to consider that particular process as simple. Between 8 to 15, it's going to be medium. Complex, it's going to be greater than 15 steps. So what are the steps in the particular process? So downloading is first step. Reading the data is the second step. Generating the CIBIL score is the third step. And you're trying to validate the CIBIL thing, that is your 5th step, and mailing back to the customer, that is the 6th step. In this particular process, how many applications are required? Only 3 applications are required. So the complexity is less than simple. How many screens are there? Maybe less than 10 screens. How many fields are there? So fields are nothing but text box, drop downs, push buttons, or else you can say like radio buttons. All this comes under the fields in the screens. Average handling time, nothing but the time that was taken to complete a single transaction. Okay. So all these things will help us in identifying whether the process is simple, medium, or complex. If it is a simple process, it's gonna take you around like 4 to 6 weeks to complete. If it's a medium complexity, 6 to 10 weeks. And if it is complex process, it's gonna take you 10 to 14 weeks. Nothing but 1 to 1.5 months for a simple process, 1.5 month to 2 months for a medium complexity process, 2 to 3 months to complete higher complex process. It purely depends upon this complexity things, right? So we're gonna talk about the test data availability. Fine. So these were the different factors which will help us in understanding all these things and all. So I'll share this particular document where you can just read the terms related to the documentation related to work for the particular. Fine. And also we have something, I'll showcase you something related to the PDD document also. Uh, so this is something order to cash process, a PDD. So we can see what is there in this document history. Nothing but who has provided all the information and all, who is gonna provide some approval, who has provided all this information and all, right? So this is something where you will try to understand in terms of the PDD. Let's try to jump back here. So who is the process SME, who has reviewed the process, who is the owner of the particular process, right? So this is what you can see in the PDD. What is the process name? What is the process area? What is the department? So a small description of the particular process. So what is the access required for your automations and all? And also process schedule frequency, nothing but on which days it will try to run, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. On a daily basis, you'll get 440 transactions. What is the average handling time? 3 minutes. So what is the peak period at the beginning of the week? And what is the peak volume? You'll get maximum 600. How many people are working? 10 people are working. So volume might increase to 20%. So this is something where is your input data? So you will have some email with some PDF. And what is your output data? You need to create some sales order in the ERP application. So this is all the information you need to understand when we are trying to document in terms of the PDD and all. So this is what we call as something as is document, where you will try to just talk about your process level information in a diagram. So how you're going to start? You will receive an email where you'll open the PO. If it has an attachment, you will try to process all the information by just extracting the product code information and all. So all these things will be happening in the particular process, right? If there is something no document was there in the particular email, you will try to end the process. Or else like you are trying to compare something in the application which is not available. So definitely you're going to stop the process, right? So all these things at a very high level, 3 applications are involved, and these were the steps of the particular process. And what are the things you can do in terms of now utilizing the particular bot steps and all. So in these particular things, you can see that the things that was highlighted in orange can be automated, and things that were done in uh, blue is nothing but where you're trying to do something in the manual work and all. Okay. So we will share this sample documents also, where you can just review and you can get some clarity out of it. Okay. Fine. So that is what we are targeting in just showcasing for the today's session. And finally, I'll just have a walkthrough for the SDD2, and we'll just wind up the session for today. Fine. So these were the contents we are going to talk, which we're going to understand here. What is the project name and what is the type of the bot? It's like a background process or foreground process, where the orchestrator is utilized. What is the version of UiPath you're trying to utilize? So we are going to provide the runtime guide and also the environment details and also prerequisites to run. What are the things that needs to be there? What is your input data, expected output, where you're gonna do these things, how the start, how the process happens, how the reporting happens, if orchestrator is utilized, where you're gonna store the passwords and all. So all these things will be taken into considerations for your particular process which needs to be automated and all, right? What are the environments you have utilized? Is there any sort of repositories where you're trying to store your things, whether it's in Git or SSPN or TFS, how you're going to store your assets and all these things. So what are the dependency packages you have utilized? What are the workflows you have created in the particular project and all, right? So all these things were seen in terms of the SDD, where we'll share this document for your reference. Okay. So we'll share 3 documents as well as the slides we have utilized for our particular process. And if you have any doubts, please do let me know. so that we'll provide some explanation on the queries.
Most of the doubts I cleared it in the chat. So if you have anything, you can raise the hand so that we can clear it.
Yes, the PDDs are actually developed by business analyst or SME. SDDs are developed by basically architect. But still, if we can also just helping, we'll also be there in helping them in drafting those PDDs or SDDs. Okay. Any other queries? So we'll not share it on WhatsApp group because it will be just spammed. We'll share it the link where we are uploading in uh, Git, and also we'll share the recording too, where you
Okay,
can download.
what is TDD, and are we preparing TDD still, or we have just dropped that?
Sorry, can you come back again, please?
Yeah, what is technical design document actually? So are we preparing that, or who will prepare that? Develop?
Yeah, so TDD is nothing but the technical design document or else the STD, which will help us in just providing the architectural, how you're going to develop these things and all. It's similar documents where it will help us how you're building your solutions and all, what best practices you're trying to utilize and all these things.
So a developer need to prepare that, right?
Yes, yes.
Can you show us some sample of the TDD, or you have?
Yes, so TDD, I think I don't have the sample. It's similar to what we have shown in terms of SDD, where you'll have some.
We'll upload it in the say, repository. We'll check it any one of the sample and we'll upload it in the repository so that you can refer it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any limitations to buy licenses? It really depends upon your organization needs. So there is no limitations. More licenses you buy is nothing but more profit. You'll get more profit for the UiPath. Please show some sample example of STD. Yes, I've shared it already. So this is the sample. We have just shown it for STD. So this is small template. Pradeep, meanwhile, can you just share uh, the link for the particular, what I can say, piece we thought of providing. So this is some STD document, sample STD document.
Yeah. So guys, here itself I shared one of the form link. So there you can see 10 questions for based on today's sessions. So you people having only 15 minutes to answer all the sessions. So whenever you answer all the multiple choice questions, we will get that response. So based on that, we can identify who all are having good knowledge on today's session.
So just to have some understanding how better you have understanding on the today's session, we have just created a small questionnaire, which is shared in the chat window, where you can just open and just answer it, so that you can just evaluate how best it was there and what is the basic understanding you had.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
Sir, in the operation team slide, it is mentioned RP operation and RPA transaction. As RPA developer, it is mentioned both. And in RPA supervisor, it is just RP operation. Will you little elaborate this?
Okay, fine. So we are talking about different roles, right? So supervisor is something where he or she is responsible for maintaining the bots. So what is this maintaining of bots? Maintenance of bots is nothing but so I want to run this bot at morning 9 o'clock, or else I want to run this bot at every 2 days. So as a developer, my responsibility is only to build the bot. To nothing but I was responsible for only for writing the code here. So running based on the requirements of the particular client depends only on the administrator here. So as a developer, I will try to develop and the supervisor or administrator is only to maintain the bots here. He or she will be running the bots based on the business requirements. The service support engineer or infrastructure engineers are nothing but a person who will try to set up the environment for you. So for development, I need some interaction with the database. Who will provide those database information? So these two people will provide those information. Or else I want something like SAP to be installed. So these people will be helping us for setting up the environments. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hope I have answered your question. Is a different license for attended and unattended? Yes, we have different licenses, which we will try to discuss going forward. Yeah, I think if we don't have any queries, we'll just wind up the session for today. And yep, thanks a lot for all the support by just joining the session without fail. Please do practice. Please do go through the recordings which we are trying to share. If you have any queries, please do reach out to us personally, because we don't want to open the chat to make it spam. But for every 3 days, we'll open the chat window for a particular time frame, which we will try to notify in the chat in the group itself. Yep. Thanks everyone. We'll upload the recording as well as everything by EOD. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think Prashant, you have raised your hand. If you want, you can just ask us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, team. Thank you so much.